Video bites from ulearn.photography. Here's our principal, Simon Q. Walden.
Hi, welcome to another video bite. And today I'm going to be talking about renting out your studio space. The odds are, if you run a studio, you are not filling it full time. So what do you need to think about if you're going to rent it out to other photographers? Obviously, the first thing that's probably going to come to your mind is the whole issue of insurance and protection of your kit. You need to check that your insurance policy does cover other photographers using your equipment, and you also want some terms and conditions that are going to recover any damage that might occur to your kit. You need to think about rates, and trust me, you're not going to make a living out of renting a studio, not unless you've got a very special studio in a very special location and somewhere that's going to be really busy. Rates on studios are very low. Here in the UK right now, studio rates are something like £15 to £25 an hour. It's really not a lot. You need to think about maintenance of your kit. You know what state your kit is in, how to look after it, how to use it. Other users won't, and they will be a little more aggressive with it, let's say. It's a bit like the old thing is the fastest car in the world is a rental car, because nobody cares what they do to a rental car. You need to think about security. What I mean is personal security, so your security, the photographers, and particularly the model security. You don't want to get into a complicated situation about if something happened in your studio. Theft may be an issue. There are ways you can mitigate that. I've never lost any serious kit from renting out the studio. I'd lose radio triggers all the time, and that's not, people weren't stealing them, it's just that they stayed on the top of the camera and people forgot about them. So we always used to use the cheapo Yongnuo triggers for those. Never used to get out the expensive ones. We lost odd things, like we lost a water mister that somebody took one day. It's like a £1 water mister, but anyway. You need to think about training. Now, this is an interesting one. Lots of photographers will come in, they just want the space, they know what they're doing. But you'll also get the group of photographers who are really looking for you to show them how to use the kit. Now, I was very careful with that. I would say I will give you a very quick guide, but I was also very upfront that it was not a free training session. If they wanted a training session in studio lighting, they could come on a workshop or they could book a training session. And then the other thing is whether or not you book models. I would advise against this. With all the best will in the world, is you're acting as a booker for a third party, and models are a bit notorious for being late, or worse, just not turning up at all. And I used to do this when I first started out, and I'd always be getting a call at 11 o'clock at night saying, "I'm very sorry, I can't make tomorrow." And so I'd be scrabbling around at 11 at night, 8 in the morning, 7 in the morning, trying to find a replacement model for the photographer. So I don't anymore. Although studio days is slightly different. That's when you cooperate with a model and book a particular workshop day. That's a slightly different thing. But nowadays I just point photographers to relevant model booking sites and let them get on with it and book their own. So my overall experience of renting out the studio, though, was it's fine, it's great. It uses the space, and actually it was just pleasing to see the space being used and seeing people use it actually in different ways than I used it, and that was also interesting. It never paid for itself. It was not going to make me rich, but it did subsidise the days that the studio was empty. And I have to say, for relatively little heartache, really. So should you rent your studio? Yeah, I don't see why not. With just a little bit of care, it's perfectly fine. And just that little bit of extra subsidy, you never know what that might be useful for. Even if you're just, ploughing that money back into updating equipment in the studio or something like that.
Subscribe now for regular tips and updates. To find out more, go to ulearn.photography.